The massive alien ship hung silently in the darkness of space, just beyond Mars' orbit. Inside, Captain Reed of the Galactic Alliance Scout Fleet studied the holographic display of Earth with growing interest. His four-fingered hand moved gracefully across the control panel as he zoomed in on the blue planet. Primitive spacefaring species, he muttered, noting the crude satellites and space stations orbiting the planet. This should be an easy first contact and submission protocol. The standard procedure was simple: activate the fear sirens, watch the primitive species panic, and then offer them protection in exchange for joining the Galactic Alliance. It had worked on 12 other civilizations in the past cycle alone. Deploy the warning array, Reed ordered, his gray skin reflecting the soft blue light of the ship's interior. Let's show these humans what real power sounds like. The array of specialized speakers extended from the hull of his ship. These weren't ordinary speakers. They were the product of thousands of years of psychological warfare research. The frequencies they produced were specifically designed to trigger fear responses in most known sentient species. As the sirens began their terrifying symphony, Reed watched the human ships through his view screen. He expected to see them scatter in terror or freeze in panic. Instead, something very different happened. On board the Earth Defense Force ship Thunder One, Lieutenant Mike Wilson was the first to hear the alien signal. The strange, pulsing rhythm filled the bridge, starting as a low hum before building into a complex pattern of beats and wails. Wilson's foot started tapping unconsciously. "Hey, this kind of slaps," he said, nodding his head to the beat. "What do you mean slaps?" asked Captain Brown, but even she was beginning to feel it. The alien siren had a strangely compelling rhythm, like a techno beat mixed with industrial sounds. Within minutes, the entire bridge crew was moving to the rhythm. Engineer Jack Parker had pulled up a basic audio program on his console and was adding a simple bass line to the alien signal. Communications Officer Lisa Green had started humming along, creating an impromptu melody. Back on the alien ship, Captain Reed watched in horror as his sensor readings showed increased activity and energy levels on the human vessels, but not the kind he expected. Instead of stress hormones and fear responses, his scanners detected endorphins. "Sir," his science officer reported, confusion clear in his voice, "they appear to be dancing." Dancing. Reed's antenna twitched in disbelief. Increase the fear frequency. Add the dread harmonics. The sirens grew louder, their patterns more complex and terrifying. In response, the humans only seemed to get more excited. On Thunder One, the party was in full swing. Someone had patched the alien signal through the ship's internal speakers, and crew members were taking breaks from their stations to show off their moves. Captain Brown, despite her initial skepticism, found herself swaying to the beat while reviewing tactical displays. "This is the best first contact ever," Wilson shouted over the noise, doing a fairly impressive robot dance at his navigation console. "Do you think they take requests?" The alien signal suddenly cut off. Through the view screen, the human crew watched as the Galactic Alliance ship rapidly retreated, its engines glowing bright as it accelerated away from Earth. Captain Reed's report to High Command was brief. "Species exhibits unprecedented response to fear harmonics. Recommend immediate research and revaluation of contact protocols." Note: humans appear to derive pleasure from patterns designed to cause terror. Exercise extreme caution. As the alien ship disappeared into deep space, the crew of Thunder One felt a little disappointed. The impromptu dance party had been fun while it lasted. Captain Brown made her own report to Earth Command. First contact established with alien species. Their attempt at psychological warfare accidentally turned into history's first interstellar rave. Request permission to classify this as a successful defensive operation. In the weeks that followed, videos of space crews dancing to alien warning signals went viral across Earth's social media. Remix versions topped the music charts, and a new genre of music was born: alien battle beats. The universe would never be the same. Commander Tom Wells stood in front of his bedroom mirror, adjusting his Earth Defense Force uniform. His fingers tapped unconsciously against his leg, keeping time with the soft hum of his apartment's air conditioning. Old habits died hard, especially for a former club DJ. 20 years ago, he'd been known as DJ Thunder in the underground music scene of New York. Now, at 45, his dark hair had touches of gray, but his eyes still held that same spark whenever he heard a good beat. He never expected his music background would become useful in space combat. The news played on his wall screen as he prepared for his new assignment. 2 weeks after the alien encounter, Earth's military continues to adapt its training protocols, the reporter announced. The incident, now known as the First Space Rave, has led to interesting developments in defense strategies. Tom smiled, remembering how he'd first discovered his unusual talent during basic training. While other recruits stressed over the endless drills and warning sirens, he'd found himself turning every alarm into a rhythm, every warning blast into a beat. His instructors had thought he wasn't taking things seriously enough, until they noticed his unit performed better under pressure than any other. "Commander Wells, report to Launch Bay 7, his computer announced. The walk to the launch bay took him past the training rooms. Inside one, a group of new recruits was learning what the military now called rhythm response tactics. They moved in sync to various alien warning signals, practicing battle maneuvers while maintaining their cool under the supposedly terrifying sounds. "Commander," a young officer named Pete ran up to him, tablet in hand. "The crew manifest for the EDF Thunderbeat is ready for your review." Tom took the tablet, scanning the names. After the first contact incident, Earth's military had started specifically recruiting people with musical backgrounds. His new crew included 3 former musicians, a dance instructor, and an audio engineer. "Good mix," he said, handing the tablet back. "Tell them to report to the ship in 2 hours. And Pete, bring your drumsticks." The EDF Thunderbeat was a thing of beauty. The newest ship in Earth's fleet, she'd been modified with what the engineers called an acoustic response system, basically a giant sound system that could both analyze and respond to alien frequencies in real time. As Tom walked through his new command, he found his first officer, Rachel, already on the bridge, bobbing her head slightly as she ran system checks. "Testing the acoustic arrays?" he asked. "Yes, sir," she replied, not missing a beat in her work. Engineering figured out how to isolate the base frequencies from that alien signal. They're using it to calibrate our defense systems. Tom sat in the captain's chair, feeling its comfortable embrace. "You know, when I was DJing, I always dreamed of playing for an alien audience. Just didn't expect it would happen quite like this." "Sir," Rachel turned to face him, her expression serious but with a hint of amusement. "Do you really think we can turn their weapon into our advantage?" Tom's fingers drummed a quick pattern on his armrest. "Ever notice how a song can change how you feel? Make you brave when you're scared, calm when you're angry. That's what we're doing here. Those aliens thought their sounds would paralyze us with fear. Instead, we're using it to focus, to unite, to fight better." The ship's computer suddenly came to life, flashing an alert. Unidentified vessels detected at the edge of the solar system, matching signatures from previous alien contact. Tom straightened in his chair, a familiar excitement building in his chest, the same feeling he used to get before taking the stage at a club. "Looks like it's time for our first show. All hands to battle stations." As the crew rushed to their positions, Tom noticed something remarkable. Despite the tension of the moment, every person on the bridge was moving with confidence, their steps unconsciously falling into rhythm with each other. The aliens were coming back, but this time, Earth was ready to dance. The alien fleet emerged from hyperspace like a cloud of metal locusts. 50 warships, their hulls gleaming under the distant sunlight, took up attack positions near Jupiter's orbit. At their center, a massive command ship pulsed with ominous energy. On the bridge of the EDF Thunderbeat, Commander Tom Wells watched the tactical display with steady eyes. "Status report," he ordered, his voice calm despite the tension. Enemy ships are charging their acoustic weapons. First Officer Rachel reported. Energy signatures are much stronger than in the first encounter. Tom nodded, his fingers already tapping out a rhythm on his chair's armrest. They've upgraded their fear sirens. Good. More beats to work with. He pressed the ship-wide comm button. All hands, this is the commander. Remember your training. When the music starts, we dance. The alien command ship's message boomed across space. Primitive species, your resistance is futile. Surrender now or face the full power of our dread harmonics. Tom grinned. Pete, show them how Earth responds to party crashers. Pete's hands flew across his control panel. As the alien sirens began their terrifying wail, the Thunderbeat's acoustic system kicked in. The ship's computers isolated the alien frequencies, added a thumping bass line, and fed the modified sound through the internal speakers. Oh, they brought some new beats. Pete exclaimed, working his console like a mixing board. The bass line in this one is sick. The alien sirens rose to a crescendo, designed to shatter morale and freeze their enemies in terror. Instead, the human fleet began to move. Not in chaos or fear, but in perfect, synchronized formation. The EDF Thunderbeat led the dance, its movements smooth and precise. Other Earth ships fell into rhythm behind it, creating patterns that looked random to the aliens, but made perfect sense to anyone who'd ever been on a dance floor. On the alien command ship, Admiral Krell watched in horror. Impossible. Increase the fear frequency to maximum. But with each increase in the alien signal, the humans only moved faster, their ships flowing through space like dancers in a cosmic ballet. The Thunderbeat spun and weaved between enemy vessels, its weapon systems firing in perfect time with the beat. "Sir," Rachel called out, "they're trying to surround us." Tom's eyes lit up. "Perfect. Pete, remember that old dance move we talked about? The one from your street dancing days?" Pete's face broke into a huge smile. "The break spin. But sir, that's crazy." "Yes." "Will it work?" "Also yes. Signal the fleet." "Everyone follow our lead." The Earth fleet suddenly moved as one, spiraling outward in a complex pattern that looked like a break-dancing move scaled up to astronomical proportions. The alien ships, trying to maintain their encirclement, found their formation shattered. "Now," Tom ordered, "all ships hit them with the bass drop." Every human vessel simultaneously activated their modified acoustic systems at full power. The combined sound wave, a mixture of the aliens' own fear frequencies and Earth's heaviest bass beats, slammed into the enemy fleet. Alien sensors overloaded. Their precisely coordinated attack fell apart as their ships reeled from the sonic assault. The humans pressed their advantage, their attacks still perfectly synchronized to the beat that now filled space. Admiral Krell's voice crackled over the comm. "Retreat. Retreat. These creatures are immune to fear itself." The alien fleet scattered, their ships jumping to hyperspace in a panicked rush. Within minutes, only the Earth fleet remained, still moving in rhythm to the lingering echoes of the battle dance. On the Thunderbeat's bridge, Tom finally allowed himself to relax. "Status report. No casualties on our side," Rachel reported, trying to hide her smile. "Though I think Pete's dance moves might have made a few people dizzy." "Worth it," Pete called from his station, still bobbing to the beat. Tom looked at his crew, tired but proud, some still swaying slightly to the rhythm of victory. "Well done, everyone. I think we just invented a new form of space combat." "Sir," Rachel asked, "what do we call this?" Tom thought for a moment, remembering his DG days. "Let's call it the battle rhythm. Something tells me we're going to need it again soon." Admiral Krell paced in the grand meeting chamber of the Galactic Alliance's central ship. His gray skin had taken on a slightly paler shade, showing his stress. Around the circular table sat the Alliance's top scientists and military strategists, all looking equally troubled. "Explain to me," Krell said, stopping to face the chief scientist. how these humans turn our greatest weapon into their source of strength. Dr. Marr, the Alliance's lead researcher on species behavior, adjusted her viewing screen. The human brain appears to process rhythmic patterns differently than any species we've encountered, she explained. When we send fear frequencies, their brains interpret them as entertainment. The room filled with confused murmurs. One of the military commanders slammed his hand on the table. That's impossible. These frequencies were designed over thousands of years to target the fear centers in all known intelligent life. Observe, Dr. Marr said, bringing up a holographic display. It showed recordings from the recent battle. The human ships moved in formations that made no tactical sense, yet had proved devastatingly effective. They're not just resisting the fear, she continued. They're synchronizing with it, adding their own patterns. What we see as chaos, they see as, she checked her notes, something they call sick beats. Admiral Krell rubbed his temples. And now they've weaponized it against us. Our own frequencies, turned back on us with their modifications, overloaded our ship's systems. A young tactical officer raised her hand. Sir, there's something else. She looked nervous. Some of our younger crew members have been attempting to copy the humans. What? Krell's antenna stood straight up in shock. Yes, sir. We caught a group in the lower deck trying to vibe to the recorded battle signals. They said they were just practicing in case they had to face humans again. Dr. Marr's eyes lit up with scientific curiosity. Actually, this could be significant. If our own people can learn to process these patterns like humans do. Enough, Krell interrupted. We need solutions, not more problems. Our entire military doctrine is based on the effectiveness of fear frequencies. Without them, how do we maintain order in the galaxy? An older strategist spoke up from the corner. Perhaps we've been looking at this wrong. The humans don't just ignore our weapons, they transform them. They take our attempt to create fear and turn it into something that brings them joy. How do you defeat an enemy that can turn your strongest attack into their greatest defense? The room fell silent as the implications sank in. On the main screen, footage from the battle continued to play. The human ships danced through space, their movements both beautiful and terrifying in their effectiveness. Suddenly, an alarm blared through the chamber. A communications officer burst in, looking panicked. Admiral, we're detecting human frequencies being broadcast across multiple sectors. They're attacking. Krell jumped to his feet. No, sir, it's different. They're broadcasting something they call Earth's greatest dance hits. Several outer worlds are already responding positively to the signals. They're requesting more. Dr. Marr couldn't hide her excitement. Don't you see? This is how humans wage war. Not through fear, but through sharing their joy. They're not just defeating us. They're changing us. Admiral Krell sank back into his chair, feeling the weight of history shifting around him. For thousands of years, the Galactic Alliance had maintained control through carefully calculated fear. Now, a species from a small blue planet had shown up and started a dance party in the middle of their carefully ordered galaxy. Send word to High Command, he finally said. The humans are not to be engaged without new protocols in place. And he hesitated. Perhaps we should start studying these dance moves ourselves. For defensive purposes, of course. Nobody mentioned the slight tapping of his foot against the floor as he spoke. The largest alien fleet ever assembled filled the space near Mars. 200 warships, their hulls gleaming with new sonic weapons, faced the much smaller human defense force. Earth's ships, only 50 strong, held their position steadily. Commander Tom Wells stood on the bridge of the Thunderbeat, which now carried Earth's most powerful acoustic system. They'd brought an audience, he said with a smile. Let's give them a show they'll never forget. Sir, Pete called from his station. They're broadcasting on all frequencies, different patterns than before. They're learning. First Officer Rachel noted. These signals are more complex. Tom closed his eyes for a moment, listening to the alien patterns through the ship's sensors. His fingers moved automatically, finding the rhythm hidden within the chaos. Oh, they're trying to remix. Pete, patch me into Fleet Command. The view screen lit up with faces of other ship commanders, all waiting for his signal. The former DJ was now Earth's expert in sonic warfare, though he preferred to call it battle dancing. Listen up, Tom said. They're using a layered beat structure, 4-part harmony in their fear frequencies. You know what that means? He grinned. They just gave us the perfect setup for a counter harmony. The alien fleet's attack began with a wave of sound that would have shattered the morale of any other species. Instead, the human ships began to move, each squadron taking up a different part of the rhythm. On the Thunderbeat's bridge, Pete's hands flew across his console, adding Earth bass lines now, synchronizing with fleet movements. The space between the fleets became a dance floor unlike any in human history. The Thunderbeat led 4 ships in a spinning attack pattern, their movements matching the main beat. Another squadron wove through enemy lines in perfect time with a counter rhythm. They're trying to jam our frequencies, Rachel reported as alien ships launched waves of sonic interference. Perfect, Tom replied. All ships switch to battle pattern breakdance. Pete, give them the drop. The human fleet suddenly broke formation, each ship spinning and weaving in what looked like chaos. But every movement matched the complex rhythm they'd created, a mixture of alien fear frequencies and Earth's most powerful dance beats. The alien ships, trying to track the seemingly random movements, found themselves caught in the humans' rhythm. Their jammers, designed to create discord, instead added new layers to the cosmic symphony. Sir, Pete shouted excitedly, their ships are starting to move with our beat. Some of them can't help it. He was right. Several alien vessels had begun swaying to the rhythm, their crews apparently affected by the infectious human counterattack. The strict formation of the alien fleet began to break down. Now's our chance, Tom announced. All ships initiate the final movement. Let's show them our grand final. The human fleet moved as one, creating a massive spiral pattern in space. Each ship fired its weapons in perfect time with the beat, creating a light show that matched their sonic assault. The combined effect was both beautiful and devastating. Alien ships spun out of formation, their crews either entranced by the rhythm or overwhelmed by the synchronized attack. Their mighty fleet, which had come to crush Earth's resistance, instead became unwilling participants in the greatest dance party in space. Finally, the alien admiral's voice came through. Stand down. All ships, stand down. We cannot fight against this power. As the alien fleet retreated, the crew of the Thunderbeat celebrated. Even Rachel was dancing at her station. Commander, Pete asked, still bobbing to the lingering rhythm, do you think they'll be back? Tom looked at the retreating alien ships, noticing how some of them were still moving with a slightly rhythmic motion. Oh, they'll be back, he said. But next time, I don't think they'll come to fight. Why's that, sir? Because, Tom said with a knowing smile, you can't resist the rhythm forever. Soon they'll learn what humans have always known. It's much more fun to dance together than to fight. The video spread across the galactic network like wildfire. Human ships dancing through space, transforming deadly sound waves into something that made people want to move. The Galactic Alliance's leaders watched helplessly as their carefully maintained order began to change, one rhythm at a time. In a secret bunker deep beneath the Alliance's capital city, Admiral Krell faced an unusual crisis. What do you mean the young ones are hosting dance parties? He demanded. The nervous officer on screen adjusted his uniform. Sir, it started with a few cadets studying human battle footage. They claimed they needed to understand enemy tactics. But now, he moved his camera, showing a large room filled with young aliens moving to Earth music. This is happening everywhere, another officer reported. They're calling it the human wave. Even some of our most disciplined warriors are being affected. Dr. Marr burst into the room, her scientific equipment barely contained in her arms. Admiral, you need to see this. She projected a brain scan into the air. When exposed to human rhythms, our brains produce chemicals similar to those found in humans. We're literally being rewired by their music. Krell watched the dancers on screen. Despite himself, his foot started tapping to the beat. Can we stop it? Stop it, Mar laughed. Admiral, this is the greatest breakthrough in galactic relations since we discovered faster-than-light travel. Look. She switched the display to show scenes from across the galaxy. On a desert world, 6 armed aliens spun to Earth hip-hop. In orbital stations, tentacled beings swayed to smooth jazz. Even the warrior race from the Outer Rim, known for their strict discipline, had started incorporating dance moves into their combat training. The humans aren't conquering us, Mar explained excitedly. They're teaching us something we never knew we needed. The ability to, what's their word? Vibe. Meanwhile, on Earth, Commander Tom Wells stood before the United Earth Council, giving his report on the recent battles. The alien fleet's retreat wasn't just a military victory, he explained. It was the beginning of something bigger. Our music, our ability to find joy in rhythm, it's changing their entire society. Are you saying we've won the war? A council member asked. Tom smiled. I'm saying there might not need to be a war. The younger generation of aliens, they don't want to fight us. They want to dance with us. He played a recording received from an alien world. It showed their version of a nightclub, where beings of various species attempted to breakdance, moonwalk, and even tried to recreate the famous dancing queen moves. Some of them are pretty good, Tom admitted, though their interpretation of the robot is interesting. The council chamber filled with laughter as they watched a 12-tentacled alien attempt to do the Macarena. But not everyone was laughing. In the dark corners of the galaxy, older, more conservative aliens watched these changes with growing concern. The fear frequencies had maintained order for thousands of years. Now, humans were turning their weapon into a tool of joy, and worse, it was working. The old order is dissolving, one elder alien reported to a secret meeting. These humans, they don't just resist fear, they transform it. How can we maintain control when our most powerful weapon makes people want to dance? Back in his apartment that evening, Tom sat watching the stars through his window. His old DJ headphones lay on the desk beside medals from the space battles. His communication device blinked with messages from alien youth asking about this thing called disco. You know, he said to himself, smiling, maybe this is how peace really happens, not through fear or force, but through learning to dance together. His foot tapped steadily against the floor, keeping time with a rhythm that now echoed across the stars. 6 months after the Great Space Battle, the massive conference hall on the Galactic Alliance's neutral station was packed with beings from 100 different worlds. But this wasn't a military meeting or a peace treaty signing. It was the first intergalactic cultural exchange festival. Commander Tom Wells, now Earth's cultural ambassador, stood on stage next to Admiral Krall. The former enemies shared a knowing look as they watched humans teaching aliens how to do the wave. If someone had told me a year ago that I'd be hosting a dance party with aliens, Tom said, I would have thought they were crazy. Krell's antenna twitched in what humans had learned was an alien smile. If someone had told me our fear frequencies would become the galaxy's most popular music genre, I would have had them tested for space madness. The festival was in full swing. On one side of the hall, Dr. Mar led a scientific presentation titled The Universal Language of Rhythm. Her research had proven that dance and music could bridge even the widest biological gaps between species. You see, she explained to her fascinated audience, when we stopped trying to use sound as a weapon and started using it as a connection, we discovered something remarkable. Every species can dance. They just needed permission to try. In another corner, Pete had set up what he called DJ School for Aliens. He was teaching a group of enthusiastic extraterrestrials how to mix beats. A 6-armed alien had proved particularly skilled at handling multiple turntables at once. Remember, Pete instructed, It's not about the number of limbs you have. It's about feeling the rhythm in your, well, whatever organ you use for feeling things. First Officer Rachel, now captain of her own ship, led a demonstration of how humans had adapted battle tactics into dance moves. The key is to let the music guide your movements, she explained to a group of military officers from various worlds. Think of space combat like a choreographed dance. But the real breakthrough came when the new Galactic Alliance Peace Protocol was announced. Instead of fear frequencies, all ships would now be equipped with universal translation systems and cultural exchange programs. First contact with new species would begin with music, not threats. We learned a valuable lesson from humans, Admiral Krell announced to the gathered crowd. Fear might control people, but joy brings them together. And nothing brings joy quite like a good dance party. Tom stepped up to the podium next. When we first heard your battle alarms, we could have responded with fear. Instead, we chose to dance. Sometimes the best way to face your fears is to turn them into something that makes you smile. The crowd cheered, in various alien ways. As the lights dimmed and the music started, the familiar mix of former fear frequencies and earth beats filled the air. Species that had once been mortal enemies now moved together on the dance floor. A young alien cadet approached Tom. Is it true that humans knew about dancing even before you went to space? Kid, Tom replied with a grin. Humans have been dancing since before we knew how to write. It's not just what we do, it's who we are. As the party continued, news came in from across the galaxy. The human style of battle dancing had become the most popular form of military training. Crime rates had dropped as young aliens chose to spend their time in dance clubs rather than causing trouble. Even the most warlike species had discovered it was hard to fight while dancing. Tom watched it all from a quiet corner, his foot tapping to the beat as always. A message flashed on his phone. More requests for Earth music from distant worlds. Somewhere out there, another alien species was about to make first contact, and they would be greeted not with fear, but with an invitation to dance. You know what? He said to himself, watching the joyful chaos of the dance floor. Maybe this is exactly what the galaxy needed. A reminder that life doesn't always have to be serious. Sometimes you just need to find your rhythm and dance. The beat played on, echoing through the station and out into the stars, carrying humanity's greatest message to the universe. When faced with fear, just dance.